I'm gonna take a chance on myself. If I succeed, I succeed. If I fail, I fail. But I'm young enough to go back. Like if you
Yeah.
know, if I don't succeed, that's fine. But I can't live in my mind with the unknown. Like, damn, you never took a chance on yourself. Like you're preaching to all these people, like, go for your wildest dreams, but yet you don't dare to dream beyond your normal like comfort zone. So I ripped the bandage off and
Hey everyone, it is hard being human here. We have Devyn, Nadine, and of course me, hashtag Team Karlie. Before we get
it's not your day.
started,
It's not your day.
It's not your day, Karlie.
today, don't forget to check out our socials. Instagram, it's at Postpirations. YouTube is at Postpirations. Patreon, it's Hard Being Human. Check us out. Follow us, like us, subscribe, DM. Give us all the love. We want it. We need it. We appreciate it. And so today we are talking all about Nadine, and we're going to
Yes.
hear her story and what she feels is important to her and where she got where she is now.
First and foremost, tell them how much you love me, Karlie.
Nadine has grown on me.
Karlie, say the words.
I have love for Nadine in my heart.
She's on your screen. You're on her screensaver, Karlie. So
You
that's
are my
know.
screensaver. That is a special spot. I could have easily X'd your face, but I didn't.
Listen, Nadine and I have private phone conversations without Devyn now. That's how much our friendship has grown.
It has.
But we talked on the phone yesterday, and I laughed because I told her what she was telling me was overwhelming to me about what she was expecting. So, but let's get into your story, Nadine.
So I jotted down a couple of things that pretty much summarize Nadine, of course. So it's my faith, my career, my relationships, and I guess pretty much everything is on the table for you guys to ask questions about and go crazy about. So I guess the first topic of discussion would be my relationships. So you guys can go crazy. Go ahead.
I want to know, give us a little background so that we can go deep, because we know you've been married in the past and that, but
and maybe too, how you grew up with mostly your mom, and your relationship with her. I think I would like you to start there, and just that you're the only child, and start with that maybe.
So I'm going to start with Devyn first, Karlie. Hopefully you don't feel offended, and I hope you feel offended. So Devyn's correct. I definitely have only child syndrome because my older sister and I are 17 years apart. So most definitely I was a child that was prepared for and waited on. So I definitely got a lot of the love and affection and attention. However, that did come along with a lot of expectations that my older sister did not bring to the table. So growing up, it was just like always eyes on me. I had to be the first one to get married, the first one to have kids, the first one to have whatever, because my older sister didn't. So I always felt that pressure, like even though it's an unspoken pressure, like even though they don't say it, but it's kind of like you need to do it. Like the clock is ticking. Like when is it gonna happen? Like we're waiting. So that's been my entire up until 33, and I'm 33. Up until 33, it's been a loud requirement of what I'm required to do at this age, and what I haven't done at this age, and how I can make it happen at this age. So, I'm excited to hopefully make it happen, and if not, it just is what it is. But that's in my childhood. up until adulthood. So
Are
yes.
you close with your parents?
I am close with my mother, not so much close with my father, i.e., my daddy issues. Um, my mother is like pretty much. I mean, I often feel like, well, it is true. We got very, very, very close this year after. Well, in the last 7 to 12 months, we got like really, really close where she's gotten off her pillar of being like this huge Bible thumper, and she's become like a regular person that I could identify with. And so I guess I could say I met my mother at the age of 33, because before it was just like, okay, Nadine, you have to do this always, and if you don't do that, Jesus is not happy. So it
So
wasn't
were
until
you guys always close, or would you say like just this past year you guys have started to like form a relationship?
I would say just this past year, because before it was just requirements like, you must do this, you must do this, you must do this. Like you don't get to feel, you don't get to do all these things. Like you have to produce. So I was almost like a robot up until this point where life issues happened, and that's when I was finally able to be like, okay, like I can actually cry in front of my mom and be like, okay, I am sad, I am feeling, I am going through the emotions, like what do you bring to the table? And that's when she actually showed up for me. So we connected after 33 years.
So you said your mom is like or was super into the Bible, and I always get really curious about that because I feel like some people take what they want and follow what they want. So what was your mom's like I guess reaction to you getting divorced? Because I feel like that's like a no-no. You're supposed to make things work.
It was almost like a secret. So when I divorced my ex-husband, it was like a mutual decision, and we decided not to tell like both of our parents throughout the entire process because we didn't want anyone pretty much influencing our opinion on how we should proceed. So we kind of had a divorce, and then we published it to the family. And when my mom found out, it was just like, traumatic, where she was just like, okay, like I can't believe you got a divorce and all of this stuff. But when she came over the first day, because when he left, it was July 4th, and she came over the following day because I was sad and I was crying, and my mother had never heard me cry ever. It was always like, mask your emotions, like you don't get to cry, you cry in the shower, and then afterwards you wipe your face and you come outside. So when she finally heard me break down the phone, she was like, okay, like shit, it's real, like I gotta come over. And then that was the first moment where I realized, like, oh my God, my mom is like a real human being, where she finally shared with me. She was like, you know what? Heartbreak happens to everyone. Like, I had heartbreak. And she's like, she was telling me about like guys in her past. I'm just like, okay, like, this is the Bible thumper I've always knew. Like, sis, you had guys, like, plural. Like, does Jesus know that you had multiples? But, I didn't emphasize on that. But, like, the fact that she sat on the couch with me and she was just like, it happens. And, I didn't want this to happen for you. And, like, she went through the emotions with me. Like, that was when she became real to me. Because before it was just a list of expectations and just me pretty much going down the list. Like, I had to meet all the expectations or I wasn't what she signed up for. So it wasn't until I got my divorce that like my mom became real to me, that she actually had feelings and she actually cried and she actually like sympathized and empathized with how I was feeling.
I have a follow-up. So I get very curious with religious people because I grew up religious, and I think because it was forced on me, I'm now not very religious. So you said like faith is one of your categories that you want to discuss. So do you feel like growing up were you religious, or do you feel like you just found this newfound faith? Or I'm curious, cuz does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So growing up, I was always religious. Like literally out of the womb, I was like
But
7 days.
was it your choice? Like, did
No,
you?
it wasn't my choice until I want to say the age of, I want to say 11, 12. That's when I got baptized, and Devyn was she was like in attendance, of course, but it wasn't my choice. It was a routine. And forever and always, it was like, okay, like, you know where you're going to be Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday nights. Like, it was routine, like, all the time. There was always something going on. So my week was pretty much school and work. So it wasn't until I got like a little older where I think it was like 11, 12, where I actually accepted Christ for myself. And around that time, I think it was Devyn and Michelle, her sister, and they came to my baptism. And that was like the first time that I was like, okay, I'm making an actual decision to accept Christ into my life for me. And literally around that time, like I think it wasn't my first boyfriend. He was like a virtual boyfriend. He didn't even count, but whatever. So he was like a virtual boyfriend. And like literally around that day or that exact day, I found out like he was cheating on me. And I remember
How
like
dare he?
the nerve, right? But that's neither here nor there. It's okay. So I remember that day where it was like Lynn, and of course she's gonna watch this and she's gonna be extra. But
We
like
love Lynn.
Len, we love Len.
We love
And
her.
and when I went upstairs after my baptism, I was like in tears and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you cheated on me or whatever. And I was in my feelings. And she was like, you know what, everything happens for a reason. She told me about her first boyfriend or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, like you guys are real people. Like, you guys put on this, charade or whatever all the time on Sundays, but you guys are like real people. And she was just like, it is what it is. Go through the feelings. Like you're allowed to feel or whatever, but like you made the very, very first step, which was the most important step, which was like accepting Christ into your life. And she's like, honestly, like, and she gave me like the real truth. She was like, this doesn't change anything. Honestly, this is just the beginning of you being tested beyond the point of repair. So I want you to prepare yourself for that because she's like, it's not going to be easy because when you walk in faith, it's just like everything is thrown at you. And at the time, at like what 10, 11, I don't know what she's talking to me about. I'm like, oh yeah, like life is going to be great. I love Jesus. Like everyone's going to smile at me and tell me I'm the best thing. And it wasn't until like life started to happen to me that I realized what she was saying. Like the moment you decide to go one way or another, like life tests the fuck out of you like all the time. So it she was right. There was like a dagger on my back from that very moment. But I could honestly say I was sharing with Devyn the other day that was like one of many, of course, one of the highlighted moments of our friendship where it was just her and Michelle that they were. I think yeah, you guys were like the only people there for me, and like they showed up and they were part of my baptism.
I feel like at that's still very young, and
It,
so you have been consistent with your faith since being like you've never like I don't want to say wavered because obviously, but like you've
no, you can
always
say
been.
that because I definitely have wavered. I've wavered.
But I think
I
that's
want to say
normal. I think like wavering is normal, but you've still been like consistent with it.
Honestly, I'm gonna say consistency died. I have wavered hardcore, but consistency. I want to say last year, and of course Devin knows because I cried. I called her like crying in like a fetal position. But last year around, I want to say between May and August, I called her and I was just like, dude, like, what is this all for? Like, what is the purpose of serving if I'm getting tested beyond the point of repair? I see so many people around me and they're doing whatever their hearts desire. They're living their lives and in so many ways that aren't favorable. And it's like, here I am. I'm like, okay, I'm not being a whore. I'm not being this like, and I want to be a whore. I'm not doing all of the things that you're not supposed to do. I'm not cheating. I'm not stealing. I'm not doing all these things. And yet still hardship continues to happen to me. And I broke down to Devin, I broke down to my mom, I broke down to so many people where I think it was like almost 2 to 3 weeks where I was like, you know what? F this shit. Like I'm tired of it. I don't want to be for the Bible, for the book, for the preaching because honestly I don't see it. I don't see the fruits of being disciplined. I don't see I don't see what the purpose is because hardship is happening to me and it's like, you know, what's the purpose? I'm supposed to in my mind at the time I thought that I'm supposed to get a pass for loving Jesus, like all the time. Like I'm supposed to get that pass, and that pass did not come. So I want to say last year for almost 3 weeks to almost a month, I was just like, you know what? I'm good. Like I don't see the purpose of doing it. And I honestly turned my back on my faith, turned everything on it because I was it at that present time, the level of hurt that I felt and the level of betrayal that I felt, I was like, what is the purpose of trusting God and doing good and being this good person and trust like being there for people, loving people, like being pretty much everyone's everything and tireless and everything, and then hardship still happens to you. Like hardship is not supposed to happen to the good people, the just people. So yes, I definitely did turn my faith against. Like I definitely was just like, you know what, I'm gonna place the Bible on this like nightstand. I'm just gonna do what I want to do because all of my peers are doing what they want to do and they're fine. So I don't see what the purpose of living with discipline is.
Interesting.
Well, I have to say, it's Nadine and my sister have always been like the ones to kind of lead me to my faith. And my family wasn't really like religious growing up for their own reasons. But I think going to Nadine baptism was a huge moment for me also. And just reminding Nadine, like we've been in each other's lives for so long that when Nadine prays about something, I've been able to witness it time and time again, like happen. And I would always look at Nadine and be like, how come every time, like, you have some powerful words, you literally from like God's lips to whatever that saying is to your mouth or however it goes, but like it's really really happened where she just prays for something and you can see it happen within, like, she gets the answer that she needs when Nadine prays. Like she gets what she needs. It might be stalking a little or investigating on Google, maybe that's her aunt, like that's how she does it, but I'm gonna say it's Jesus or God, whoever you want to, the universe, someone's looking out for her. And I think we've been able to be that reminder for each other, like through a lot of hard times and remembering that moment. Where do you think, like with your relationships and faith, like how do you think you ended up? I don't know what relationships you want to start with or talk about, but how do you think that helped you get through some of like your relationships and the fluctuations?
I think so with faith and with religion and with everything, and I think I say religion and I use that loosely because, like, religion for me, the way I define religion was routine. And, the viewers may have opinions about that or anything, but I literally grew up with routine where it was just like you went to church, you were a seat filler. Like, people went to church to, like, see you. Like, oh my God, it's been a week, I haven't seen you, or whatever. So, in my opinion, like I didn't feel like that was a true basis of having faith. I felt like that was routine. So the moment I turned 18, I was like, you know what? I don't want to go to church like for a routine. I don't want to see people weekly just so they can be like, oh, I saw you or whatever. So I decided at that point in time where I was like, okay, I'm gonna find my own faith. I'm gonna find my own purpose and how I define what faith is, as opposed to the traditional like go to church every Sunday, follow the book verbatim, like do everything verbatim. And of course, I'm human, as our podcast is titled, and I deviate from that. I do whatever I see fit within like whatever the situation is. But time and time again, and Devin can attest to this, is that no matter how badly I want to go to the other side and I want to be like, what, fuck this shit. Like I like fuck like everything. Like my faith always brings me back where it's just like, you know what? It's the core underline where it's like, trust God, do good, treat people who aren't treating you good, like well, like still continue to be an example, still continue to smile when you don't want to smile, still continue to be an example when you want to sit in a closet and cry your heart, like still continue to show up even when like you literally want to like stand on your pretty much pillar and be like fuck all, like, because Virgos were very opinionated, as you guys know. Like I sometimes I want to I want to stand up and be like, you know what, you have bad breath, you have this, and I want to go down the list and call everyone out on everything. But I'm like, you know what? trust God to good, Nadine. Like what growth does that bring for anyone? How can you be an example to anyone? So it reverts me back to my actual faith. And when I say faith, I don't mean every verse in the Bible, because I do not abide by every verse in the Bible. Hell, I don't even know every verse in the Bible, nor do I desire to know every verse in the Bible. I just know the 10 commandments, and just knowing like how to be a good person, how to be the best version of myself. So I strongly like follow the 10 commandments, and just like, don't steal, don't cheat, don't do like all of those things. And it's always like a very loud voice in my head. Like even when I want to go over to the wild side, I guess my faith and my upbringing and everything doesn't allow me to. Like I try, don't get me wrong, I really try, but
He dips a toe in.
I'm
it's,
saying
yeah, I
I've
dip
heard
a toe
some
in and
wild
see it.
side things, so
Yeah, but I never like fully go in. So that has definitely made me a better person, because definitely I do have a dark mind, and I've been through a lot to get me to the point where I would be a vengeful bitch that would poison everyone's water source. But um through like, faith and everything, I have not poisoned everyone's water source. So, everything is good.
Yeah, Nadine growing up, like she literally, it was, work, it was school, work, and church. Like she literally, from the time she was 16, was working basically like 5 to 7 days a week. And that's just how her life went. She had a little boyfriend. And then even leaving maybe going to that, like you didn't leave your mom's house until pretty much you were engaged and then married, right?
Yeah.
You guys were engaged and then,
No, pretty much married. My mom was not having it. Like literally, we had to get married. I had to go to the courthouse and get married. And even then, she called me on the phone, like crying, telling me that I like embarrassed her in front of her friends because I'm living with a guy in sin. I'm like, how am I living with a guy in sin? Like you were there at the ceremony. And she's like, well, you technically didn't happen in front of the church, so it doesn't count. I'm like, oh, okay, great. So like my ex-husband and I, for the longest time, made a joke about like we literally got married to leave our household and to leave that structured structured but not structured mindset of like you have to be like the ultimate happiness is like if you leave your home when you're married. And then when we got married, it was just like, holy shit, I don't like you. Like I don't think we're supposed to be married.
how
Like
how old were you when you got married, and how long did you date before you got married?
I think like 20, I think I was 24 when I got married, and we dated for a year prior to that. And then we dated for a year prior to that, and everyone aside from me co-signed to him and was just like, "Oh, he's the one. He's great. He's everything, times 20." And it wasn't until like my actual wedding day where I was crying in tears. I'm like, and I won't forget that. And like Devyn was there with me. She's my maid of honor, and she was just like, "You know what? Um, you
she
have to
needed
do
a lot
this."
of mimosas that day.
I did a lot of mimosas that day, I did not want to do it. I was in tears crying because I was like, dude, I don't know if I like this guy. And it's not personal. Like, I like him as a person, but like, I'm supposed to have a different feeling. Like, this is not normal. And like, all the articles and all the books that I read, I was like, I'm supposed to be in La La Land right now. Why the hell am I like so hesitant? And like Devin was like, okay, look, listen, like, everybody's here. You let me know what you want to do, but like nothing is permanent in life. So if you don't like them after a couple of years, guess what? You can leave. You're not tied to anything. I think that was my only refuge that allowed me to walk down the aisle, where she was just like, you're not tied to anything. If you don't like them tomorrow, we can make plans or whatever. But like, I'm really afraid of your mom. She's crazy. We have to get you down.
Even that day,
We have to get you down the aisle. But I tell you, no lie, it wasn't even like wedding jitters. Like it was severe. Like, dude, like I don't want to do this. Like severe.
Well,
I
y'all
don't.
only dated for a year. My
We only
God, I feel
dated for a year, and it
that's
was.
so. Is that dating and engaged? Like literally from the moment you met to married was a year.
I want to say a year and 4 months, like back to
That's
back. It was
wild.
it was expected. Like, okay, like, oh my God, like you guys should get married. You guys should do this. And mind you, I'm like, I don't even know if I like him. Like Devin had to tell me that, hey, I think he likes you. I think he's like he wants to take you on a date. Like I had no, I didn't even know how my vagina worked to tingle. Like he asked me out like 3 times, and I was just like, oh my. I called Devin, and I was like, I think he likes. I don't know. And Devin's like, you're so smart, but you're so dumb. Like he likes you. I'm like, why? And she's like, Nadine, and Devin dressed me up for my first date with him, and I had her tights. I still have those tights upstairs. It's like silver tights and like a sweater dress. And she was like, he likes you. He wants to go on a date with you. Like this is what it means. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm gonna go on this date. I wanted this date with him, and he knew what he wanted. Of course, I had no idea what I wanted because in my mind I was like, oh, he's my friend. Like we chat, we hang out or whatever. And then like as he started to build, like probably like date number 1 or 2, he was like, oh, well, you're my girlfriend. I'm like, okay, I guess. And then it was like, okay, like you're my okay, cool. I guess this is the normal set. So I didn't choose anything. It just kind of happened to me. And I just fell in line with it because everyone around me was just like, oh, like this is normal. Like it's great for a guy to choose you. It's great for a guy to want to be like in a relationship with you. And and meanwhile, all along, like the little girl inside of me was just like, this does not feel right. This does not feel like my love story, but it's everyone else's love story. So smile and, show up or whatever. So honestly, it wasn't until she said that to me that she's like, okay, like, listen, like you have an out. Like it's not today. Obviously, you're going to walk down that aisle. Like, but, you know, if you don't feel like this is right in the next couple of years, you do have an out. So I definitely heard Devin's words in my head, like year after year, where it became louder and louder that I wasn't where I wanted to be or needed to be. Where I'm not in jail. Like if I'm not happy, I can exit out gracefully. And yes, it hurt my mom. Yes, it hurt multiple people, but at the end of the day, I am so happy that I made that decision. I stood up for myself because I will never speak ill of him. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. I can never speak ill of him. He never rose his voice at me. He never put a hand up. He was a great ex-husband, but he wasn't my guy. So I'm happy
But
that I was great.
the
Huh?
divorce was mutual, right?
Yes.
So he was also unhappy. How long were you all married?
I want to say 4, almost 5 years.
And did you have any boyfriends before him?
Well, that I was going to bring that up. I think it's important to know, like, Nadine didn't have a great boyfriend prior to that. So when the ex came along, her ex-husband came along, it was really just like this man treats her like a princess. So why not, But maybe you can get a little bit more into the boyfriend before.
So both great questions. So yes, Carly, I did have a boyfriend before. It was, I want to say, almost like my first boyfriend, which was toxic as hell. And Devin was around for that, and it was the worst because it's almost like when they choose you and they're like, whew, it was a lot. Like 7 years of my life of just somebody dictating who you can talk to, what you can do, how you can dress, like everything. Like he I think I started dating him when I want to say freshman, yeah, freshman,
You were
yeah,
little.
yeah, I was young, and it was bad, Carly. Like he dictated every aspect of me, and it's almost like a person that could see your light, but they were intimidated by your light, so they would turn around and say very, 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 very like nasty things to like dim your light and like bring you to their level because they didn't understand why you were just so like happy and bright and whatever. So with him, I mean, all of my girlfriends were thrown in the trash. All of my everything was like it was all him. Like he found a way to make everything like woes him. Like, oh, everyone hates me. Everyone hates you for me. And in my mind at the time, I wasn't able to. Of course, now at the age of 33, I'm like, okay, well, if several of my friends feel like you're a red flag, like, dude, you're a fucking red flag. But like at that age, at the age of 15, 16, I was like, okay, well, if everyone thinks that you're like a red flag, I'm gonna fight harder and I'm gonna try and be
Who does
like,
that
I'm
sound
gonna
like?
Do that. Why
Yeah,
are you
like
doing
you're
that?
the, like all this stuff because I'm gonna make you like you the exception. I'm gonna prove everyone wrong. And the way my mom looked at him was hilarious. I've never seen my mom look at someone with such like disgust and dismay, where she was just like, you know what, like you're not my daughter's guy. I'm gonna let her go through her like feelings or whatever, but you are trash. Like my mom literally told him one day that he was trash outside. And I remember one time when I finally built the nerve of I called Devyn and I was like, Devyn, I'm done. I'm tired. I was like, I was sick, like 16, 17. I was tired. I was like, I'm done. I'm tired. Like, I need you to like say whatever. I'm like, Devyn, like lie first, whatever, like whatever. And Devyn was like, oh, listen, I'm down for the cause. So like Devyn was on the phone and she was like, yeah, Nadine was like out and about. She was with me or whatever, like Devyn put on her straight face and lied for me that night. And I told him, I was like, you know what? It's not you, it's me. I can't be with you or whatever because of blah blah. I don't know what I said to him to break up with him or whatever. And he sat there for a moment and he accepted or whatever. And then he was just like, okay, fine. And the next day he came back with a fucking vengeance. He was like, wait a minute. I think you and your friend plotted and like tried to get me out of this relationship or whatever. And I was just like, you know what? No, you're out. It's okay. It's cool or whatever. But even when we weren't like talking every day or whatever, I called her up and I was like, listen, I need you to like show up for me like right now. Tell him, I don't know, like make up some crazy shit. And she was like, done. She made like that was all, and that has always been my relationship where it's like if I need an out, whether we were on great terms or bad terms or whatever, I can call her up and be like, I need to fix it now. Like I don't like him.
Yeah, because I
Please
think at
fix
that
it
point we
now.
were really not, talking too often. I think that kind of brought us
No.
back together almost
Yeah.
because I was going through a similar situation, but then yeah. So yeah, I remember it. I remember
So
that day. I wanted to run him over with a car. Didn't I threaten him to hit him with a bat
You
or
did. You did. You did threaten to run him over with a car.
don't get on Devyn's bad side.
leave
So
my friend
No,
I'm
alone?
gonna I'm
she
gonna
showed
quote
up.
you.
She definitely showed up for me for sure.
I'm gonna quote you, Nadine. Why did you put up with all that? Did you have low self-esteem?
I did have low self esteem. I don't even think I knew what self
We
esteem was
all.
at that time.
Yeah.
To be
I
honest
think.
with you, he found me at the age of I want to say 15, 16. I had no self esteem. Like
How
this is
long
like
were you with him?
A long time.
7 years. 7 years.
Well, because you just said at 16, 17 you broke
Fresh.
up with him.
No, it wasn't. No, you weren't.
No, it was like
That was when your early 20s. Nadine
yeah.
was
I
a
didn't break up
grown
with him
woman
until
from like
I didn't break up
freshman.
with him until I was like 21. That's like my like
Okay.
emancipation year. Like I was emancipated and I was like whatever. So I want to say 6 or 7 years. Yeah.
Because
Dang.
he was, that's why her ex-husband is so important because he was, are we allowed to say his occupation at your old?
Go for it, girl.
So he was head of security at the building that she worked at. And so her ex prior to her ex-husband was acting crazy, and her ex-husband, really, I think he gave her normalcy. Like he was just like her, worked really hard. They were both like really grown up for that, being so young. And but he really like came in and kind of like almost saved you. I don't think
Yeah.
if he came along, I think you may have like dealt with it or helped him walk through the breakup even longer, because Nadine really had to walk him through the breakup. Like
I
he
had
was.
to walk my ex through the breakup, Carly. Nothing is
Isn't that
worse than walking
crazy?
somebody and listening to them through a breakup of like talking down to you. Like I had to because I knew at the time I'm like, damn, he has nothing to lose. So he's the type of person to get in a car and come and like ruin my entire life. So I have to mitigate this situation and talk to him every day just so I could kind of like gauge what mood he's in and kind of like mind fuck him. Meanwhile, like my ex husband is like the entire time he's like, bringing me coffee, bringing me like utensils, and it wasn't in a sense of like, I want her to be my girl. It was just kind of like, dude, like you're better than that. Like he was the first person that taught me the word of like your worth. And it was insane because he was just like, dude, like you shouldn't be so unhappy. You shouldn't be whatever. And he didn't have, I can honestly say between him and every other guy thereafter, he didn't have an agenda because I wasn't shining. I wasn't anything. Like right now, like like I'm a dollar, you know, I'm gorgeous. But before, I was like regular, you know? And with him before, it was just like, you know what? Like you're worth way more. Like this is not your story. Like you need to know your worth. So the first time I said worth to my to my ex boyfriend, he was just like, "Who the fuck taught you that word?" He was so annoyed. He was like, "Wait, who taught you that word?" And you know, I was just like, "Well, my friend or whatever." And of course, like everything, and I love you, Devin, but everything I said it was Devin. So he hated Devin. So
Okay, by me.
it's fine by her. So like he definitely, so unfortunately, because he played that role, it was kind of like hero syndrome. Like I wasn't in love with him. Devin had to pretty much talk me through and be like, "Oh yeah, like this is what love looks like." So I didn't feel that feeling of like, "Oh my god, like butterflies. Oh my god, like I can't live without him." In my mind, I'm like, "Oh, you know what? This is the normal progression. Like he likes you. Like he's normal guy. Like
Logically,
this."
it made sense.
Yes, it made sense, like logically, but I never had that burning desire to be with him. Like, oh my god, I can't see my life without him. Like it was just kind of like I can see every day with him. Like he's normal, he's fine or whatever. So it got louder after I want to say year number 3, 4, where it's just like, dude, I don't know if I like you. Like it got louder because we didn't have the same fundament, like the same foundation, the same background, the same anything. It was just like, damn, do I want to do life with you? Like
Nadine
I
didn't want to
like
go to one more goddamn car show.
I didn't want to go to one more fucking goddamn card show. Like it was a lot. It got loud, Karlie. Like he wanted to wake up at like 6 a.m. to go to car shows, and I'm like, this isn't my life.
No.
I don't want to.
So
And
who initiated the divorce? Like who kind of like brought it up of like, "Hey, I don't think this is working."
I I want to say I have a resting bitch face, and it's not a resting bitch face, but it is a resting bitch face. So
No, it
he could
is.
sense all the time. He could sense all the time that I wasn't happy, and he would like come around and he'd just be like, "Are you okay?" or whatever, and I'm just like, I'm not happy. And for me, the biggest thing for me, like I'm a very sexual being, as you know, like your episode. I'm a very
Yeah,
sexual
no.
being. We know. And it wasn't until I guess I was in nursing school and he realized that I spent, I want to say, if there was 7 days out of the week, I would probably spend 5 days on the second floor on the couch sleeping, and he would be in the bedroom, and I would lie. I would be like, "Oh, I'm studying or whatever, or I'm watching Home Alone and whatever," and I would fall asleep on the couch. And it wasn't like it was that time where he was just like, "Dude, this is not normal. Like a wife is supposed to want to sleep like next to her husband." But I was perfectly fine with sleeping downstairs because that meant that I didn't have to deal with the situation. That meant that I didn't have to be intimate with a person that I didn't want to be intimate with. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, I want intimacy to be a desire, like not necessarily to be an obligation. So I made every excuse to be downstairs. I'm like, oh my God, I have a crazy nursing, like whatever, like test or whatever I have to study. And he would be upstairs and he would fall asleep. And mind you, I would be up till 2, 3, 4 a.m., not studying, but watching like whatever show I wanted to watch. But
Home Alone.
yes, Home Alone always like heavy rotation. But that's when I knew like, damn, like I love him, but I don't like him. Like, can
So
I?
you're like not in love with him. You know,
I
like you
wasn't.
love.
I don't
Yeah.
think I was ever in love with him. I think it was just the right thing to do, and it breaks my heart because it's like, but then again, it breaks my heart, but it doesn't break my heart because the way we ended things, like we were super like respectful. We didn't destroy each other in the process, so it doesn't break my heart because
That's good.
what I hoped for him is that he found the love of his life and that I found the love of my life. Because, you know, that like that's the goal. Like I didn't want to destroy him. He didn't want to destroy me. But we both knew that we got married super young and that this just wasn't our love story. Like I always told Devin, like I want to feel the butterflies. I want to feel the tingly feeling in my vagina. And I never felt that with him. It was an obligation. It was like, okay, I guess you're supposed to have sex with your husband. I guess you're supposed to do this. It was more of obligation as opposed to me wanting to do it out of desire.
Well, and you're in a very grind season of life. Like Nadine was
Yeah.
working crazy. I don't know how many degrees she had at that point. This chick would take literally 6, 7 classes at a time just to
But did
fit.
she do it to not deal with your home life?
And hindsight is 2020, Karlie. Like you're so right, because that I think that was what it is. I did not want to deal with my home life, so I picked up every extra course, every like everything. I worked 365 days out of the year because I didn't want to be home, not because I hated him, but because I was like, damn, like I I was confused. I got married young, and it was like, this is what you're supposed to do. But I'm like, granted, I married my best friend, but he was literally my best friend, like nothing more. And
Yeah.
it should have stayed that way. But because everyone in their mind is like, oh, well, you're 23. That's the right thing to do. This is time for you to settle down or whatever. It was a natural progression for them. But like it got louder when people started to expect, like, oh, like, when are the kids coming? And we're like, I don't even know if I like him. Like, what do you mean, kids? Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? And that's when things got louder and louder and louder for us, where we're like, okay, I don't know. Like, I don't know. We don't have the same ideals. We don't have the same like, we don't have the same pretty much anything. We were just two people that, like, you found me through a horrible breakup, and you were like you showed up for me. You were my guy. You showed up for me, and everyone thought that I should marry you. So I married you, but like, you weren't my guy.
How long have you been divorced?
4 years.
So you were like 29 when you got divorced.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is young. And it's crazy because I feel like you said, I think so, like, society in general makes us feel that, like, we should be married at like 22, 23, but like that's so, cuz I can remember when I was young, in my head I had come up with this, I'm going to be married by 23, have kids by 25. And I'm like, now, like being 29, I'm like, that's so young. Like, how did our parents do it? That is so
They were
young.
forced. They were forced to do
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they were
just think
forced to
that
do
was
it.
the norm.
And they didn't
Yeah.
even know who they were. And then like they had to, like, pretty much, if not find themselves during the process, ignore themselves during the process, because it's like, am I gonna really become the best version of myself, or am I gonna suppress that version of myself to make this work? Because guess what? Now I'm in this marriage, and now I popped out 2 or 3 kids for this guy that, like, I don't even know his middle name, and like, this is the normal progression. And it's, I I look at parents and I'm just like, dude, I don't envy you. Like, I don't want what you have. I don't want it. And like, call it disrespectful, call it whatever, but I don't want that. I don't want to be married by obligation.
Well, I just think so many people our parents' age that did marry young and have kids, I feel like they don't know who they are. And like now that their children are like grown and it's just them and their, spouse, it's like they don't know who they are because at 22 they were popping out kids and being a wife and being a mom, and now that their kids are gone, they never had that opportunity to like figure out who they were and what they enjoyed. And but I mean, again, like, not hating on them just because that's how it was, but it's just crazy, like, to see the change that, I think I saw somewhere that women now, like, the majority of women are single and childless. And it's like, yeah, because we saw how but you know what I mean? Like, it just
No,
is
it's true.
because it's like we are valuing I think we're putting more value into ourselves rather than our external people around us. Whereas I think that's how it was when we were younger or our parents' age.
Well, I
No,
think it just looks
like
different.
1,000%.
Yeah, I
1,000%.
think it just looks different for them. I think they have to reflect in later in life and
Mm-hmm.
decide how to find themselves. Because Nadine, I think it's important for you to like all of that led to you. Then, how do you feel like after your divorce? Like, what was that unpacking and the discovery of yourself? Like that's the best part of the story.
So like the discovery of myself. So after my divorce, I was like, like in my little cocoon or whatever. Like, I think that's when I actually became a person. I became real. And like Devin can tell you, like, that's when I first, like, I understood that it's okay to cry out. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be like vulnerable or whatever, because I was raised completely different. Like, you like you don't get to cry. You don't get to do whatever. Cry in the shower. Put your big girl face on and just like go through the motions. So it wasn't until like I reached out to Devin. I was like, okay, look, listen, I'm like in tears right now. I'm crying or whatever. I don't want to shower. I don't want to like do anything. I'm like in a fetal position. She has to like fly down and go through the motions with me. I think like even when she was down here, like Devyn bathed me and everything. It was just like I was numb to everything. Where it was just like I was, and I don't know if I was hurting or anything. I think it was just kind of just like, I was just trying to understand what was happening to me. And that was the first time that I actually knew to ask for help and just to be like, I don't, like, this is not normal. I don't feel okay. Like, please, like, come, like, come for me, come stand up for me, because I don't know how to stand up for myself. And she stood up for me, and I would tell every girl there after her or everything, like, to me that spoke in volumes, because throughout my entire relationship while I was married, we barely spoke, because he had his ideals and he had his whatever. So like he kind of pushed away like my friends or whatever. So she had every opportunity to be like, you know what, fuck that shit. Like, I don't need to show up for you or whatever. Like, you haven't been present for me. But she showed up and she came down and she flew down. And even when I didn't have the words to express to her like how I was feeling, she just went through the motions. She was like, you know what, I'm gonna feed you. I'm gonna do your laundry. We're gonna go through the motions or whatever. When you're ready to talk about it, we can talk. And if you don't ever want to talk, it's okay.
We'll sit
I
here and
think
watch
that
Home
that's
Alone.
Yes, we can watch Home Alone till like your heart like explodes. But she allowed me to be me, and I think that's what helped me get through it, because so many people, even now, it's that expectation where it's like, you could be down, but not too long. Like, girl, go smile, and like like I smile for a living. Like like you have to put on this front, you have to put on this guard, you have to put on this shield, where people think that you're almost inhumane, like in a sense, like you're not normal, like you almost become like a superhuman, where you just smile for a living, and you become numb to emotions or whatever. But I'm like, there's still a person in here that still feels, that still goes through emotions. But unfortunately, I don't get to express it as much as others do, because I have to put on the face. Like, my career tells me put on the face. Like, everything around me tells me to put on the face. So my divorce definitely helped me like shine and come out of my cocoon. And after my divorce, I had friends or whatever that came in my life, and that's when I understood what seasonal friendships were, as opposed to long time friendships. Because you know at that time, like like one of my friends in high school, she came along and she was great. I will never speak ill of her or whatever. She did what she was supposed to do in that time. But during that time, like that's what helped me understand and or realize that this wasn't my lifestyle. Like, I am boring. Like, I am okay with not going to the club. I am okay with like this lifestyle. So she helped me understand that I didn't want to be the center of attention. I didn't want to be all that. So, once more, I would never speak ill of her. I would never like say anything, but she definitely took me out of the house to see what all the hype was all about. She took me to the club. She took me to all the outings. And like less than a year later, I would call Devyn and be like, you know what? Been there, done that. Like, this isn't for me. Like, it's cool, but like, this isn't for me. Like, I would prefer to just like lay out on the couch and watch Scandal all night. Like, that's my vibe.
Liar!
Huh?
Liar! We just
No,
had
I
a
do.
phone
No, right
conversation
now I'm
about.
on 10, but before I was on Scandal. I really was.
Okay.
This is
Oh,
why. This is Nadine didn't know what fun was, to be honest. You
I
know,
didn't.
and it wasn't
yeah.
until she had some friends that were local girls, and I will always be grateful. They're not, friends at this current moment, but I'll always be grateful for her for bringing Nadine back to life, because she showed Nadine how to have fun. Again,
Mhm.
Nadine, all her life, since the time she was a freshman in high school, pretty much worked school, work, church, and then she got married, and then it was like her learning how to be a wife, but also a full time
Mhm.
student, also working full time. And then it wasn't until after her divorce where I think now your journey is just, I mean, the difference
Yeah.
what 4 years can do.
I
And we
know.
did.
I'm beyond happy. I'm so happy. Like, it's almost like I'm so, I don't know what the next step is, but holy fuck am I happy. Like, I'm happy. I'm happy to see like what the next chapter is going to be. I'm happy to see what the future has in store for me. But for the first time, I feel like I'm in control, whether it's like my career, whether it's whatever. And Devyn, of course, has experienced all of these, and Karlie, you will too because you signed up for the show. But it's like I have called her crying hysterically, whether it's my career, it's whatever, where I'm just like, how do I trust God and do good and put a smile on when everyone is coming up against me? Everyone is continuously hurting me, and everyone is like, doing everything that just destroys the being that you are. And I'm like, so many times I'm like, you know what? Fuck that shit, Deb. Like, I want to use my beauty for bad. I want to go out there and just fuck a million guys and do all this stuff and like make examples out of them, leave them in their beds crying
She
in
ain't
a
gonna
fetal
do
position,
it.
doing all this stuff. I wanted to be the aggressor. Like
I
I
dare
wanted
you. I
definitely
dare
to
you.
I did. I really did. But then like I
We're
didn't
daring
I,
each
I
other
like I'll
now.
make food for you. So I'm not normal. Like I'm not designed to hurt people. But before I'm like, damn, like I hate that I have this side where it's like I'm a human first and like a barbarian thereafter. But it's like so many times I wanted to tap into that side, but sure enough, like you pick your circle, and if you pick your circle correctly, like they bring you back in. Where like every time I would call her on the edge, she'd be like, "Okay, I hear you. Like go ahead and go off onto like a tangent, but remember what you were designed for. Like you don't get to bow out. You can go ahead, boo, cry, like go through the motions or whatever." She would listen and be like, "But you don't get to bow. You have to show up for everyone. This is your burden. This is your cross. You have to show up." And I hated Devyn. I hated every time she said those words to me. I was just like, fuck you hard. Like, don't say those words to me. I hate you right now. Like, I don't want to be nice. I want to like run over multiple people or poison their water source or food source or whatever the case may be.
I think Nadine's my favorite, or your favorite is when I tell you, what do I say? Dang, I forgot now. Something I tell you all the time, and I can just tell in your voice and tell in the text how long you take to reply that shit. The world needs you, Nadine.
The world needs, oh my God, that used to piss me off. She'd be like, the world needs you, Nadine. I'm like, fuck the world, Devyn. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. Fuck the world. The world's what put me in this situation. Fuck them. And she's like, okay, well, the world needs you. So we're
Get
going to
over
trust
it.
God and do good. And like, you're going to wake up tomorrow and just continue to shine. I'm like, fuck that shit. I'm closing all the blinds. I don't want to shine. Fuck it. And she's just like, okay, well, we're gonna try again tomorrow, and you're gonna be the best version of you. And I'm just like, I used to hate talking to Devyn like when I'm sad because it would always just be like, okay, well, you get to cry, but I'm sorry, but this is like what you're designed to do. So go through the motions, but tomorrow you have to wake up and you have to show up for people, and you have to continue to love the people that you hate. And I'm like, God bless.
Well, too, I think it's important to know, like, you changed your job career, like from the time you were younger and
Yeah.
property
I was
management.
gonna ask that.
Yeah.
So
And
what
Mhm.
what got you into your career? Like what made you look into that, and what were you doing before and that kind of stuff?
Career wise, what got me into it was COVID. I realized after COVID, I hated people. And I mean, prior to that, I was doing property management for like 10 plus years. Like, I'm always like a smiley face or whatever, accommodating, whatever. And I'm like, I am a glorified babysitter to all of these millionaire billionaires. And I would be on the beach, and I'm like, all they do is fuss about the dumbest shit. They're upset that their beach attendant didn't bring them the towel right side up or what. You're like, you're sitting there, you're just like, dude, like, are you for real right now? Like, are you like fucking for real? But like, I internalized it. And it wasn't until COVID where I realized, like, dude, you guys are really just like disgusting on the inside. Like, they came after each other, Karlie, in ways that you were just like, like they would be in buildings where it's like, okay, well, such and such didn't have their mask on at 90 degrees. Can you send them a fine? I'm like, so I'm supposed to watch the footage out of the elevator like a fucking creep and then find this person because he or she didn't have their mask on the way you saw fit, even though you don't know what the fuck this virus is or anything like that. You're just being picky because like you have the right to be picky because you sit on the board. And I think I remember like calling Devyn. I was like, dude, my life has to be more than this. Like I can't be this person where I'm a babysitter to all these people and I have no purpose. Like I need to have a purpose. I need to feel like I'm okay with failing, but I have to feel. So at the age,
Mm.
I think it was like 29, 30, where I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna do what brings me joy. If I succeed, I succeed. If I fail, I fail. But at least I know I tried on myself. And so many people were like, oh, like, like the economy is so like weird or whatever. You should just stay in your 9 to 5 and follow suit or whatever. And like, like don't take a chance on yourself. Don't whatever. It's so easy to be like normal. And I was like, you know what? that's your that's your rhetoric, that's your life, that's your whatever. I'm gonna take a chance on myself. If I succeed, I succeed. If I fail, I fail. But I'm young enough to go back. Like if
Yeah.
if I don't succeed, that's fine. But I can't live in my mind with the unknown. Like, damn, you never took a chance on yourself. Like you're preaching to all these people, like, go for your wildest dreams, but yet you don't dare to dream beyond your normal like comfort zone. So I ripped the bandage off and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go after lending. I knew nothing about lending. I had no background in lending. I literally passed the test and people fell in love with my personality. They fell in love with me, the person. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I made mistakes every day. I still make mistakes now, but it's the fact that I show up for people. It's a desire to be like, listen, I'm in the ring with you. If you don't step out, I won't step out. Like I got you. And I think that to everyone is the defining point where it's like you know what? She may not know everything, but homegirl has fight in her. I'm gonna stick it through with her because she's not gonna bow out. Like she's like, look, listen, like I'm willing to do whatever, whenever, however. If you stay in the ring with me, I got you. So that's what's made me successful in every like pretty much like my careers now, where I'm able to start two brokerages where once more I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing 90% of the time. And I say that respectfully. 90% of the time I know what the fuck I'm doing. But through my charm and through my desire, I'm like, you know what? My client has to get to the closing table. So whatever law, whatever regulation, whatever that just popped up, I'll send you a picture of my dog and like warm your heart up as an underwriter and like we can get my client to the close, whatever it takes. Like I'm willing to do that because at the end of the day, it's like you're buying me. Like you're not buying like no one's designed to have all those facts in their head. They're buying you. So
Mhm.
that's how I've been beyond successful.
So, looking back on everything you went through, everything you learned, what is something that you feel like, or, well, everything that you went through, what's something like the biggest thing you feel like you took from those experiences? And, um, what was I gonna say? What's the one thing you feel like you took from those experiences, and you, you would like give like, is there any advice that you would give your younger self?
So what I took from any and all of the experiences was just trusting your gut. Like your gut is there for a reason. And I think for the longest time I didn't I didn't trust my gut. I didn't know what my gut was. I listened
Mhm.
to everyone. I was designed and predisposed to everyone's opinion and that became my truth. And it wasn't until like I want to say 21, 22, where I was just like, fuck everyone's opinion, fuck everyone's truth. Like it's my truth. Like whatever I feel, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, it's my truth. So I would say to anyone, like if your gut is screaming at you, if you're whatever, just go for it. Like at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong decision. You assess every situation and there's pros and cons. If the pros outweigh the cons, fucking go for it. It's your story. You know what I mean? Like if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If it does, great. If it doesn't, that's a great story to tell as well. But you won't know until you go for it, until you like, talk to that guy and experience that experience where it's just like, okay, afterwards you can come back and be like, you know what? He wasn't the guy, or he was the guy, or like we had a great time in bed, but go out and actually be intentional, be present, where you're not following your parents guidelines or society's guidelines or whatever the internet or social media puts out there. Like you are living your best version of yourself. And everyone puts out there all the time like, you know what, I'm living my best life, but I always say, like, does anyone even know what that means? Like, I'm living my best life, but do you know that life has, like, that's a 4 letter word that has so many different fluctuations
Mm-hmm.
where you're not living your best life, sis. Like, you are, or sis or guy or whatever. Like, you're going through the fluctuations. You're gonna fuck up. You're gonna do so many different things. You're gonna deviate from your past. You're gonna, like, no one knows what your best life is. Like, you're not deadly. Like, how do you, like, how does
Well,
one find that? You know?
so
So
I
you're just
would
going through the
say,
flow.
and I agree with that. I'll say though, based on what you say with your best life, like I think we can only do the best with what we know, you know? So like I think for me, if I say like I'm living my best life, I feel like I'm living my best life with what I know today, but tomorrow it might be different because I might have learned something today that makes tomorrow, and then tomorrow I'll be living my best life
Correct.
in that addition, you know? So like for me, I see it as like we're always evolving and growing. And 2 years ago, I thought I was living my best life, but now looking, I'm like, I'm living my best life. You know what I mean? But I was living the best life with what I knew. I can only do so much, but I think we learn through those experiences and those mistakes. And so, like, I think when people really try hard to like, I don't want to mess up. You, why? Like, you have to mess up. Like,
Mess
yeah,
up,
mess
be a
up
mess.
because
I'm
that's how you
okay.
learn, that's how you be better, that's how you grow. And so but
That
awesome. Yeah.
like my latest breakup. Like I think I called Devin. I called my little sister, and for the first time ever, I think I called you too, Karlie. Like meanwhile, I'm not fond of you, but I called you as well, and and I
She loves
was,
me.
for the first, I do love her, but for the first time, and don't tape this and or replay this, but for the first time ever, it was just like I was able to vocalize like I'm not okay. I'm sad. I'm in tears. I'm in bed. I don't know how to get out of bed. I don't like I just need to talk to you for hours. Like even if I'm not talking about anything, like if I'm listening to you work or whatever, like I need to be on the phone. I need that sense of
Mhm.
companionship. And before, I would never say that. I would suffer in silence. I would
Yeah.
suffer in silence. So I think for me that's major growth because now I'm
Yeah.
able to be like, hey, I am not okay. I'm sad as fuck. Like I don't know what to do with myself. Like I like and I have a village around me that's like, listen, it's okay to be sad as fuck. It's okay to not know what your next step is. Let's take it 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time, 15 minutes at a time. But at least I've cultivated that group of people that are human enough to be like, listen, it's okay.
Mhm.
And growing up I didn't have that. And I didn't know how to be vulnerable. I thought that
Yeah.
I always had to show up for everyone. I always had to put a smile on. I always had to be polished and smiling and everything and be this pillar of just, grace and all this stuff. And, it was Devin, it was other people who, well, like more or less Devin that reminded me like, it's okay to be a fucking mess, girl. Go cry in the corner, cry in the car, cry on the couch, like it's okay to put your phone on do not disturb and just have like a day on the couch. It's okay. Like you don't have to show up for everyone. Like in order for you to show up for everyone, you have to be able to show up for yourself. And
Mhm.
and like in order for you
You
to
can't
like be
pour from an empty cup.
I can't. And that's my biggest standpoint where like now I of course I preach out to everyone. I can't pour from an empty cup. Like I have to be able to fulfill myself. So if I'm completely drained, I will respectfully tell people like, look, listen, I saw your missed call. I can't show up for you right now. It's not
Yep.
personal. It just is what it is. I'm not whole. I can't pour into your cup if my cup is bleeding out, is has a hole at the bottom. It's not personal, it just is what it is. Usually I would show up for you, but how can I show up for you if I can't show up for myself? So
And I
now I'm learning
think,
those boundaries and I'm learning
yeah.
how to be whole like by myself and then be able to be the light for everyone.
And I think that's great. I mean, I think that, we're society, we're not typically used to that and hearing no, but I think it's necessary, because we can't always rely on people, and it might
It's
suck,
horrible.
but
People are
but
people are disappointing. Human beings are disappointing. Men are
I
disappointing.
also
Everything is disappointing.
I also want to note, when you were talking about vulnerability, that Brene Brown says that our greatest strength is vulnerability. And I think vulnerability is very hard and scary. But I do think that when we are vulnerable, the amount that we receive from being vulnerable, I think is just
Well, you get what you really want out of life then. because
Yeah.
you're being honest. Like we talk about this all the time about our own girls say, oh, well, men ain't shit. Well, then why do you want one? Like, no, why don't you say, no, men are great. I want a man. I desire a man. Cause that's the same thing. Like, but if you're not vulnerable and saying like, instead you fight that vulnerability and say that man ain't shit. This man's not shit. Instead you say,
Well,
no,
because
I
you're
desire.
projecting the hurt. You've been
Mhm.
hurt,
Yeah.
and instead of saying like a man hurt me, you're
Yes.
saying men ain't shit. Because yeah, absolutely. Because I was even talking to a friend recently, and he was saying like, I'm not dating. Like it's just not worth it. Da, da, da. I was like, that sounds like you're hurt speaking. And he's like, no, I'm just over dating. I'm like, okay, but it does sound like that's your hurt. It doesn't sound like. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
I
if he's
think.
not speaking his truth, he might be attracting the wrong things.
Yeah, and I think that you're right. Like when we get upset and we're like, "Oh, men are dumb."
And that's just a
Men are
small
smart.
example in life. That's
No, you're right, but it's true. It's exactly like it's a perfect example because that is just a simple way that you're projecting. Like, or I'm not mad. Let them do what they want to do.
ugh,
No, you are mad. You're hurt.
you're mad.
But
Let's
yeah,
talk about it. Get it off your chest.
exactly. Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be sad, but like process it. Like, because if you don't process it, that you're gonna hold on to that like anger, and then you're gonna always feel that way.
And Nadine's a Virgo, so her first instinct is to get mad. So,
But
how can you
I
burn
Mad
her
feel
house
and
down?
like on like their death. Like,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
feel like I have learned a lot actually about you, Nadine, tonight because I didn't know about your toxic relationship that sounds very similar to mine. And
Oh,
I
mine
like
was
how
very toxic. That's why I asked you those questions because I resonated with you. I mean, to some like who viewed it probably thought like, okay, like she's being like a hardcore bitch on you. But the reason I asked those questions was because like,
we've gotten that actual comment. That's why Nadine said that.
yeah, we did. And it's okay. I'm okay with being a bitch if we get to the bottom line. And the bottom line is, it's just like we were both hurt. Whether I was hurt at
Yeah.
the age of 15 and you were hurt at the age of 20, like we were both hurt and we were both like we went into like relationships super vulnerable, super green or whatever, super thinking that
Pure.
these individuals were gonna treat us the way we like these fucking Disney
We
movies.
treated them.
Yeah, and they turned around and they had their own agenda and they had their own whatever, and it took us time. Like I
Yeah.
respect her 6 years because I lost 7 years, but I can't even say I lost 7 years. I want to say I learned through seven
Yeah.
years what like what like love is supposed to be. Because honestly, can you like imagine if I dated like multiple guys through those steps? So I'm happy that I like experienced 7 years with that individual, who shall remain unnamed. And, I know, right? He was the worst. And like, he found every way to make me like to put me in a box because he realized like, damn, like this girl's fucking out of my league. Like I like and he
Mhm.
was I think like he was 5 years older than me or whatever. Five, like yeah. Like he was older than me.
Okay, I'm sorry. You started dating him at 16 and he was 5 years old. That's gross. I mean, just because
Right?
of the age at the time, because my ex was 6 years older than me, but I was 21. So I feel like, but like 16 and he was 21, 20?
They
What?
are fucking predators, Karlie. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like they see what they like and they see and like in their minds are just like, okay, well, she's trainable. Like she's sitting
Yeah,
there,
they
she's
want to
smiling,
groom
whatever,
you.
and I can groom her into being like whatever it is that I need her to be. But how can one groom you into being whatever they need to be if they don't know who the fuck they are themselves? So he encountered several of those experiences with himself, like where it's just kind of like he was all over the place, where it's like no matter what I did to comply or to make him feel as if he was a man, quote unquote, it always fell short because he didn't know what a man was. So I couldn't give him that. That was something that he had lost from whatever, and I couldn't give that to him. So it was doomed to begin with. And the day that I built the guts up to be like, you know what? I remember that day. Like that day was epic. It was hilarious because like he like drove to my like that. That's when I got balls times 20. I didn't give a fuck. I broke up with him or whatever on the phone with Devyn. And I was like, you know what? Well, like whatever. And then like he was just like in denial. He was like, wait, did you just break up with me, but not really break up with me, but told me that I broke up with you? I'm like, dude, whatever you want. Like all I know is that we're broken up. That's all that matters. And then like he came to my house, and at the time I was living with my mom, and like he walked in and he's like sitting on the couch telling my mom, who hates him, like hates the existence of his being. Like my mom like probably wished death on him at least 17 times a day, and told my mom like, oh, I can't believe Nadine like broke up with me or whatever, like shame on her and all that stuff or whatever. And I grabbed my bag with no lie, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go see my other boyfriend right now. Like, I don't even have the energy to like deal with you right now. Like, I'm on my way to go see my. He was on the couch, boo crying, and I was just like, you know what? Like, you're fucking worth it. Ironically enough, it wasn't even my ex-husband that I was gonna go see. It was another guy where I had like balls times 20. I was like, fuck you. I'm gonna go see the next guy. I'm gonna go talk to him about my emotions. Like, you're not shit. So that's what gave me like the courage to be like, girl, if no one ever taught you like what that 5-letter word was, like, dude, you're the baddest bitch. Like, you're worth it. You're fucking worth it.
Well, and see, people get it twisted. Like, you might think Nadine is arrogant or super cocky.
You think I'm arrogant?
But it comes from a place of she had like self-love, like and it's to boost her up. Like, she didn't know what that was. She didn't know herself. And so it's a way of protecting and reminding, like, look at all I came through.
I'm literally, and it's like, and guys come at me, and so many people come at me where it's like, you're so arrogant. I'm just like, if you only knew the broken shell that was behind this smile, you would not come after me the way you come after me. Like, you know, so many days I have to tell myself, like, get up, girl, like, put a smile on, like, go through the motions or whatever. Like, get up, girl, you don't get to cry, you don't get to whatever, you have to show up for your clients, like you don't get to whatever. Meanwhile, the world is coming at you in, like, ways that you can't even imagine. You're just like, listen, I want to just cry right now. And of course, for everyone, it's like when I tell myself, you know what, I'm the best or whatever, people are like, well, you're arrogant. I'm like, no, honestly, I'm telling myself that because I don't feel like I'm the best. I have to tell myself that I'm the best so I can actually perform and show up for my clients. It's not like me telling myself that, oh, I'm the greatest, I'm whatever. It's me like
giving
trying
yourself
to,
a pep talk.
yes, giving myself that morning pep talk, like, dude, suppress that insecurity, suppress that, like, not good enough. Like, tell yourself you're the fucking best. Fake it till you make it, girl. Like, put a fucking smile on, get on the phone and smile and dial and smile and dial. And for some guys and for some people, like who's past my like path or whatever, it's like, oh, she's so this and she's so this, and I'm like, if you only knew the story of this girl, you would not put a title on me, because you would know that like every comment is me telling myself something that I don't even feel, like something that I'm like telling myself mentally, like, okay, like, you're pretty enough, Nadine, you're bold enough, Nadine, you're like, walk into that room, girl, like, you deserve to be in that room. Meanwhile, I'm like, holy fuck, what the fuck am I gonna say when I get into that room? All of these people are far more accomplished than I am, you know? But I'm like, you know what? And Devyn has been there with me in Michigan, where I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to shine. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to talk out of my ass, and it is what it is. And I'm going to fake it till I make it. And like, those are the moments where it's just like, I'm like, okay, you got out of your shell. Like, you can cry later. You can be a hermit later. You can get in your cocoon later. But sis, you have to shine. So if they really knew, they wouldn't. But then again, I love my critics. I love everything that comes at me, because that's what helps me continue to elevate. But I'm happy for this episode because they can actually see like the true person, and actually, like, you know, I do cry beyond this smile. And it wasn't until, honestly, I went to Israel, and I'll end with this. Like, I went to Israel, and the tour guide, like, he the entire time he was like, oh my god, you're sunshine. Like, they call me sunshine and princess and all these dumb names or whatever, because I was always smiling on the tour bus. And it wasn't until afterwards, like, where they were having like this testimony, like, part or whatever, my mom's pinching the fuck out of me. She's like, go up there and testify. I don't want to testify. I don't have anything to testify. And she's like, go up there and tell like everyone how Jesus is happy with you. I'm like, okay, whatever, fuck it. So I went up there, and I'm like, of course, it's the me show, and I know how to put on that face. I know how to put on that production. I go up there, and I'm like talking, and I'm smiling, and I'm me. And the guy in the tour guide is just like, and I'm like, you know, just telling like people like like a very small point, because you don't want to give them everything. A very small like insert of like, okay, like, what's going on with my life. And the guy goes, like, you know what? you might have fooled, and like that shit broke me. Like I literally started like crying like the moment after he said that. He goes, you might have fooled several people, but he's like, I can tell the most broken people by how hard they smile. He's like, there's so much pain behind that smile. He's like, you go out and you smile. He's like, and mind you, this guy knew me for like 2 days or whatever, and he already saw so much pain behind that smile. He's like, you smile to mask the hurt. You smile to mask the tears. You overdo or overhelp or over whatever to mask the hurt and the void that you're feeling inside. He's like, really and truly, like, you're not happy. You're just like, in your mind, you think that if you show up for enough people, maybe it'll pour back into your cup eventually or whatever. And I bawled out when he said that, because I was like, damn it, I thought I was putting up a fucking show for these people. Like, you know what? I had my smile on. It was bright. It was whatever. And he was just like, I've seen it all. Like, the brightest smiles are the ones that have so much pain behind that smile. They're just masking it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they're overcompensating. So that was my pivotal moment where I was like, you know what, girl, it's okay not to smile. It's okay to turn your phone off. It's okay to put your phone on like D&D, like, and just be numb to the world. It's fucking okay. Like, those who understand, and those who don't, fuck it. Like, it's okay. It's okay.
Well, now our viewers know your backstory.
They do.
And that'll help them understand you now too.
And one of my
one level. Me, I have 17 personalities. One level.
And I have a favorite quote that I feel like is appropriate. Karlie she actually showed me this quote, but there's no use going back to yesterday because I was a different person then. And it's an Alice in Wonderland quote. And so I think we just keep moving forward, ladies.
Wait a minute, Karlie, is that profound?
Well, Karlie didn't like make up the quote, but she told me a long time ago that quote, and I just always it felt very relatable for me with all my like moving around and whatever. I just felt like, oh, there's no point in worrying about yesterday. Like, you're different now. Like, you learned something, you evolved, you changed, and so now you get to be whoever you life by design. You get to figure out who you want to be moving forward versus the past doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
I love that. And if I may say, Karlie's not my favorite, or wasn't my favorite, but now she is one of my favorites, ironically enough. You know, Devyn brought her into my life.
I grow on people, baby. I grow on
like,
people.
I fucking love this barbaric chick. Like, I'll fight it, but like, I might like you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna ever say I like your burps or whatever, because that's barbaric. But like, I'll tolerate it now because like, she has shown up for me. She has listened to me. She has said uncomfortable things to me that I didn't want to hear. And I'm just like, I hate that you're saying these things to me. Like, I don't want to hear, like, well, maybe like you're the problem, Nadine. I'm like, fuck you, Karlie. Go burp somewhere in the corner. Like, fuck you. You know?
I say it all gently, though. I say these
You
things
say it a lot more gently than I do.
Yes,
She does. So, you know, but like,
maybe that's why Nadine's been calling me more.
I have cultivated a good group of women around me where it's just like, listen, they don't say what I want them to say. They say what I need them to say. And that to me speaks in volumes, because I can have fans all day long that tell me you're the prettiest, you're blah, blah, like you're a whatever. But these girls are just like they'll get on the phone with me like, listen, go apologize to that guy. You're the fucking asshole. Like, what did you say to him? Like, yeah, like they've called me out on my shit. Like, okay, so you're the fucking confused one. Go fucking say sorry. Like, both of them. And I'm just like, I kind of got on the line with you guys for self-reassurance. You guys like left me feeling vulnerable and empty right now. But the both of them were just like, listen, like, if you want love, you got to do this. If you want this. So I definitely appreciate the both of you difficult people. Because you guys don't tell me what I want to hear. You tell me what I need to hear to continue on, you know? And the other day, Karlie told me that I was too much. So yeah, she told me that she wouldn't pretty much date me because I'm a lot. My energy levels are a lot, and I require a lot. And she said that I need a lot more girlfriends. So, you know, it takes a tough person to tell you that.
I bless the heart of the man that ends up with Nadine.
God, I pray for that man every day.
Woo! Oh,
I pray for that
but
man every day.
to the right man, Nadine won't be a lot. So
That's
that's what
right.
she needs to remember. But so I think this was a great episode.
And that's also the kettle calling. What is it? What's that old saying? The kettle calling.
the corn black or something.
Yeah.
Devyn is just like me. We get every saying incorrect. The pot calling the kettle black, or the
pot.
whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
We'll look it up later. Hold on.
I'm sure someone will correct me. I wouldn't ask Siri because that bitch is always angry at me. Go ahead.
Well, on that note, thank you, Nadine, so much for being vulnerable and sharing your story. And then as a reminder, check out our socials at Postpirations for Instagram and YouTube.
Predominantly mine because
Hashtag Nadine.
Yes.
Oh,
Carlie,
wait,
say
are
it.
you
Say it right
open
now.
to people
Say it.
checking out
If
your
you
Insta?
don't say it, I'm gonna hang up the phone. Say it right now, Carlie.
Check out Nadine's Instagram.
No, say Team Nadine like Devyn did with the
Hashtag Team Nadine.
Thank you. Oh my God, I feel so special. That was unexpected. Thank you, Carlie.
It's all about Nadine today.
It's Nadine Day.
Every day. Every day. It's all about Nadine, but continue.
God bless her boyfriend. And on that note, thank you everyone for listening to us and Nadine. And it's hard being human. Bye.